Yeah, she's doing her work now. And yeah, it's got many purposes. It's just good to look at as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lovely feeling being in a warmth of a fire compared to the air conditioning or something else. There's something about a
Yeah.
fire.
Yep. Yeah, they're definitely magical, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad. But tonight, I think I've been the more the distractions which I also just allowed, as in reading or something when I knew there was a meeting on or being busy. But at the moment, it's just allowed a freeing up for some reason that I could get actually get on. Like it was really be like I wasn't fighting myself to avoid going on to a meeting because
Right. Okay.
a
Yeah.
meeting is exposure in a way. But I've been listening to all of the meetings and they've all been really I feel effective and I feel going in somewhere that like aiding with what you call the tools are aiding.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So have you
But
been have you been getting the stories on Substack?
I've been reading the stories. I don't actually, when you say Substack, I just sort of see it through my email
Right.
and
Yeah.
read them. Yeah.
Yeah. You
But
get
I've
they
been,
get emailed out to you, but they come from Substack. Yeah, that's how I do it. Okay.
yeah.
So you've been reading the stories. That's what I was wanting to know.
No,
Yeah.
no, yeah, they've been good. They've been good, but I feel I get really connected with the hearing, with the ear, the hear,
Yep. Yep.
the sound,
Sure.
which is funny because at the moment I think I've got one ear that's gone out, not working.
Yeah.
Which is
Uh,
what and but I checked into that tonight because I actually had like a chronic, first acute and now a sinusitis. But I feel like it's got something to do with I'm not hearing. I can't hear because I'm not here. And I
mm,
can't get that. Like, but I do get it and I do know it. And I know that I know that, but it's actually really, um, really
mm,
living in that. And yeah, and from that, and that all comes back again to the mold time, which happened that it became so crazy that um, because they were living in the tent, and my daughter was trying very hard, but the partner didn't understand. Just they can live, very
yep. Yep.
like a stone man, and so can my daughter. But she was just trying to do it because she knew it really
Mm,
angst me. But in the end, they stayed in here when I was away or staying up at my ex's. Um, but in the end, I actually had to throw them out. Well, I did it. It was very sort of impulsive, and it was in a fit of anger. Um, after I think the day or two before it, I'd had a really enormous anger, but I actually didn't feel. I felt like the anger was out of my control, and it just came, and I think I just said what I never did. I was just pretending before to be the whoever
mhm.
the one thought I was, like that the nice mother-in-law, and I was just we just were on two different waves, and after that particular moment, it went downhill very quickly. Um, but when I chucked them out because of I felt really disrespected. I must say, and that's when I talked to you quickly. not that long after, is that I felt a real sense of freedom. And it was a
Right.
freedom that, like, the whole story, that even the mother story, because I knew the love was there, but what I was trying to do and what I needed in in this motherly, I don't know really, Grace, I think she's always been really quite bigger than all that, but it was a very, very intense time and
Mm.
I felt quite liberated from it, but I never heard from them again after I chucked them out. And I felt okay. I just said only communicate if you can do it when we can be authentic. And then I didn't hear from them. So, but about 4 weeks into the picture, um, something was coming up very strongly, and I was in the town that I was working in the same town as where I didn't know where they lived, um, like I'd never heard from them again.
Mm.
Um, but in my lunch break, I went for a walk, and it was really coming up clearly just to reach out in a loving way. Like I felt like just
Yep.
just
Yep.
without anything on it either way. And when I did, she replied, which is very immediately, because she said she was right in the middle of well, she was texting me, she said, but she'd been too scared to text me for weeks. From the,
he was
you
he
know
was still
why?
seeing that anger. Yeah.
Well, from the day, well, no, it wasn't actually the anger. I've been such I was such a um so obsessively anti-hospitals since I left working as
Mm.
an RN and started working as a naturopath, that
Right.
they
Yep.
never actually, my children never went into hospital ever. Um, so, her whole life, they'd never seen inside a hospital
Right.
or a doctor because I naturopathically looked after that side.
Mm.
And even with the, and I got it was back, like I get the conscious free, um, um, where I signed about not giving vaccine. I'm talking about the normal vaccinations, but I knew how to treat them because of the naturopathic, and it was that Dorothy Hall. I felt very confident, and we were always right. But that's why she didn't respond, Vince, because she was in hospital,
Oh, okay. She
and
felt like she'd betrayed you or something.
yeah, she was. Yes, well, she was too, and not just. She wasn't even as scared to tell me why. Because as soon as I knew that, because I was in the next street, it was all very weird, but that's how we've worked. I was in this town and I was in the street behind the big hospital, and that's where she said I am.
Right.
And
Okay. Yeah.
and she'd had and she landed in there. Um well she came down with the problem practically as soon as I chucked them out because she couldn't actually communicate to me. She just went with the partner. I think she's always been like that. She just and but she walked out the next. It was after that took heroin, and
Your daughter or the
yeah,
partner.
another daughter. The
Right. Right.
partner's the social worker that works for the heroin people, like to look
Yeah.
after
Yep.
them. um, and she ended up with really bad, heroin sort of uh, side effect problems, such as
Mm.
endocarditis and septic arthritis. So when I went in to see her, she's on a walking frame like an old person.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was, and this all was happening. But by the time I got there, at this, which is probably how it worked out, and in the 4 weeks, she was, she'd been into a really bad state, but she'd been in hospital for these 4 weeks, and she was in a very, I felt like we were really connected in love, and it didn't
Mm.
matter why she was in there. I mean, it would have in the past, but it didn't matter to me, or it didn't even matter she was in hospital. All of that had gone. It's like all of that. And I also felt a really good vibe from her. And, um, because she was on a what, getting a lot better. But I also felt she was on a good way because she hadn't been under what my conditions were or her partner's. She'd found
Yep.
herself. I've seen this once before. She'd like got herself back, and it felt really good um, for her
Mm.
and me at that moment in time. But I feel
Yep.
that's all we really needed. Then it's nearly like that's been part of it, of having to really give up any rights because it's her life. And I'm
So,
talking
what do you
about
think
life.
changed in you when you got angry and kicked them out?
I I
That
think I was really
feeling of
different.
liberation.
Yeah, I think it actually me getting back with them, so it's not back with the partner, but back with is nearly like it brought me. At first, it was good when I really saw her, but then over the time again, I could feel this happening again. This um, not being, not allowing, um, probably not. There was something about not allowing or wanting up or somewhere wanting it to be a bit different than what it was. Um, and I felt the best time, like if I'd, in a way, when I'd actually kicked them out and left it at that, and really, but there was something, the old that when I, not when I contacted and just to see her the first time, but it felt like something started to take over again that wanted more than that. Um, some,
This is after you met her in the hospital.
yeah. At
Yeah.
first it was good, but then, because then I was seeing her, quite regularly and with their, helping out, a couple of times a week because she couldn't do too much around the house. So I'm always happy to clean up.
Mm.
So, but I feel like that's been part of pulling back from that and just we've just decided to see each other more on a social time, like out for lunch or maybe go
Yeah. Yeah.
doing a weaving workshop or doing something creative together. And I feel that's better without trying to
Yeah. Not
be
trying to fix
to be
anything.
more than
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
Yeah, to be anything. To be anything really for
Right.
her
So,
besides.
am I getting it that authenticity seems to be a big part of what you experienced some liberation from being authentic when you got angry and kicked them out,
Yes.
and that authenticity stayed with you even after the anger had gone. You still were able to be authentic. Would that be accurate?
Yes, I think so.
Right.
But the other thing I wanted to that was sort of one part. Now another part that was happening was over the years, ever since I was pregnant with her at 37 years. I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but I went into severe depression in the pregnancy. I'd never had a drop of it before, of any mood thing at all.
Mm, mm,
And I had it was, but I didn't go and get it diagnosed, of course, because um I didn't believe it. I just believed it. I just had to, sit through it. And it over the years, um, it was just like an underlying thing. Um, but every
you
so
mean it
often,
was still there, but not
but yeah, just
in the
maybe
background?
like wake up in the morning and it'd be in the background, or usually in the morning,
Mm,
like it'd just be lying there, like waiting. But then once I got up and got going, it was okay. Um, but when I came to this area, I also, after that time, though, after having Grace, I never really felt the same again. I felt that there was something about pressure, taking too much pressure. And I feel in a way that depression was nearly like, um, it was hidden then, like when I had it the first time. Like the ones close to me and Grace's father and my family and that all saw it during the pregnancy, but I just really went within and I couldn't associate, like socialize like I used to. But then, or maybe even I couldn't pretend like I used to,
mm, mm,
because that is what I feel like it was and I'd been working until that time that I got really depressed, massively in the naturopathy by that time, in the body mind stuff of working with people with their problems and whatever they thought their problem was, if it was physical or emotional, and going to like feeling their body to go to that source, and
mm,
then we'd get to whatever it was, and I'd feel we'd both like if they couldn't find it, I seemed to be able to go to that part of the body and know what it was, and they connected it with a decision. It was back in that sort of things that you never really and
yeah,
you're
yeah, I
clearer
get that.
from
Yeah,
that.
you were able
It
to
was
do that with others. What about with yourself?
well, that's what I'm doing now.
Right.
That's what I
Okay.
feel like. That's what I was always seeing outside with the others, and now um, I've had a recurrence of that and the depression. But the last few times I've had it, I've always felt I've actually exposed it to one person. Um, this is over the last 20 years, and it's probably happened 3 times, and the last one didn't happen that long ago. And
Right.
I exposed it to a doctor, and um, and it was because of an oppression, nothing really to do with Grace. It was more to do with financial, nothing to do with the ex-partner or Grace. Like it was to
Mm,
do with my expectations or others' expectations. And when I didn't know, but when I walked in there, I was feeling even quite together until I walked into the clinic, and then I actually just broke down. And
okay, that just triggered it again.
yeah, yeah, that's right. He triggered, and then he called it severe depression. That's why I'm calling it severe depression. I didn't even have a terminology for it.
Mm,
Um, but that's what I realised too, that that's what it was. Like it was a trigger. but it was nearly like it had to be. I feel like for me, it's had to be seen, um, but not to go into. I don't feel depressed now. That was only a couple of
Mm.
days ago. Um, because it was only sort of like in the office, and then maybe afterwards when I walked out, I had red eyes, but it didn't really hang around long.
Yep.
But this,
Oh, it was seen pretty quickly.
yeah, and I think it was because I also showed it. Maybe that's why I'm even talking to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
You weren't trying to hide it or
I
pretend it
wasn't trying
wasn't
to
there.
hide it, no,
Yeah.
because I was really, really pressurized from this other body, like a government body, and I really needed to talk about what the
Mm.
steps were, which he actually he sorted out. I couldn't sort out. He sorted it out, and it felt like again like it wasn't in my control. I've been finding that all the time. It's like it's out of my control.
Sure.
There's no
Yeah. Good.
control.
That's good. Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
finding a
Yeah.
lot of these things. It's just like I'm just trying to uh, when the identity keeps on being created. Like this seems to be the part now. It's like just
Yeah.
really being with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where my focus is a lot these days too. That identity, it's not even about what's there that gets triggered and what comes up, as much as it is. Well, put it this way: the juice is the place of value for you is what is your connection to that stuff.
Oh, that's right. No, Vince, that's you you've taught me that through the talks about that's what happened not long ago, about a week ago. This was just, or maybe 2 weeks ago. It was when I had like a mini depression thing that just came over because I got overwhelmed because of pressure, and it was all about the looking after this farm.
Hmm.
And I remember I verbalized it to my partner, ex-partner, who and I could feel it all weld like it was so deep again. This is this that was this feeling that I also took to the doctor that I couldn't. It was like, and that's when I realized too, this is something that has to be really seen, because I was just blaming it then on the situation of being overwhelmed here. But I noticed how quickly it went again when pretty soon afterwards, this young friend of mine turned up who'd always offered to come and help out, and he just turned up out of the blue to cut the wood for me, to splinter it
Hmm.
uh, and make some kindling. And
Yep.
uh, and another part of me when he turned up, because he turned up and it was like nearly night time. I had a routine and I wanted to get dinner ready, but I sort of felt like he needed to have a chat too. And so, I watched what I was doing with myself, like my need to go and do that. But my need was to do the wood, and I knew he'd come out of his way to do this.
Mm.
And anyway, I went up to the wood shed with him, and then I just suddenly thought, as he was talking, he's really on his I think his seeking path, and his path he was talking about was um oh, what do you call when you're going up in the astral traveling? He was
Right.
really
Right.
talking
Yeah.
about that, but he was talking about it in a way. I was first feeling like impatient to leave to get, and then I thought, no, what I'm going to do is try to just listen to him, um, and be curious what he's saying instead of just what I think he's saying, and to give him my wise words,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was in the
Yeah.
past. And I really felt that. And I felt a shift with him and me. And and anyway, he talked about how he was looking at it more in the way of just investigating all consciousness through, you know, even though he said he was, because he's come from a Hindu background, he was talking about it through past lives. And if you're hearing all these different past lives, well, there must be all these different thoughts going around. But then I was listening to that and thinking, um, in a way, like he was calling it astral traveling, but he was still investigating within himself. And I remember at the end of the conversation, and at the time just went out the window. That night I had a really nice sleep, and I feel like it was just from nothing to do with even maybe other. It might have been. It felt more just having using curiosity, just being instead of a transactional sort of way of me relating.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was thinking of you and the relationship to the thought. And that's what I feel like when I started listening to him, was
Yep.
I started thinking, where is this relationship? Wasn't even thinking between me and him as much as the relationship to what my thought was about this,
Yep.
this communication. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a
you
good
have
one. Yeah.
you. I just wanted to, sorry, because you were starting to say that because that's. I just feel like, and I remember that so many times, but it's like things are now starting to
Yeah.
come up that I've heard from you in particular.
Yep. 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 So that it's in that relationship which is kind of just a story until you get down to any feelings that come out of that or that are prompted by that. But that that story about what is my relationship to that stuff is where identification occurs, and for identification to occur there's a self created, and that self is what the relationship is about, how that self is connected to whatever the event is or whatever the thing we're responding to, what comes up. That's the connection is to a created self. But let's see, they're only words.
Ah,
So what you
yeah,
what you to get a hold of what I'm talking about is when that's happening with your mind on the idea of the connection to whatever it is that's come up, and it's got nothing to do with about whatever actually comes up, but the connection
yeah,
to that generates a feeling, and that feeling is identification. That feeling is, well, it represents the identification. That feeling is that it's mine, or it's me, or it's from me, or to me, or it's what the hooks of connection get into.
yeah,
So it's a subtle one. So you got to say whatever comes up. Yeah, okay, here is this something that's come up, and it doesn't matter what it is. How do I feel about it? And then you look at what sensations are in the body, and that feeling that you've got about that is where inside that feeling will be the feeling of ownership, of the connection to whatever it
yeah.
is. And that's
And
where the identification, that's where the self gets born.
well, I think how you explain it might be different, but I feel like when I did that, what was happening with at the woodshed,
Yep. Well, the
yeah, I was
listening. Yeah.
feeling it was just like an openness. It wasn't
Yes.
really, yeah, an openness, an openness to
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that was all that was there really. on both sides.
Hmm. So do you feel like that that openness, that willingness to listen without,
An opinion.
yes, without you having, you're not waiting for a pause to say something. You're not responding with something to what he's saying. In as much as you're actively listening, and that is that there is just listening. There is no self there responding to the content of what's been said.
Mm, yes. I'm just thinking, so yeah, I'm seeing like another example, like somewhere that I'm doing some like post. I'm working a little bit as like in like post hospital management, in respite and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Well, it's only actually just I've just taken this one couple on because I really think that it feels really right. And the um what I noticed was that the last time I arrived there, I was feeling a real sense of tiredness that which just came on me. And when met um, the wife, you know, I've been going there for a few weeks, but this time when I met her, I felt that, and she said, I'm feeling really tired, and just being, she's being the carer, and and she was going off to some, some treatments, like in the spas and that sort of thing. And I was being there for respite, and the her husband, who's the one that I'm there with, who's actually, I feel like what I love about it is there's no pressure. I'm just
Mm.
there. He's quite happy, and he's got his pain maintenance um, very well organised. Um, and these days, and all I actually felt was like nearly like a mellowness there,
Yep. Yep.
but nearly like there was nothing to do. Like we just chat and um, I might take the little, but there's no pressure. I don't feel any pressure, and I
Mm.
don't think he feels any pressure because he doesn't have
Yep.
to do anything. He can just be sick and take
Yep.
pain
Yeah.
medication, and I can just sit there, or like he's encouraging me. I can see that we interact nicely, but then we both know when to give each other, to give space. But
Yep.
I
So
felt
there's
like
that openness is there again.
the openness, and I think with the wife who got on with really well, I think I must have been feeling that tiredness was the carer of her, which was the carer of me, came through. That,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And because I was just sort of reflecting on that, so because I didn't like, yeah. And I know that she can get lots of carers with lots of other people. She's going out to be cared for, at the spas and that. I don't have
Mm.
to do that or pretend that, but it's nearly like it's been such a well-worn cloak that it came on again for a way to
Mm.
relate. Not the true relating, but the way that I've known how to relate for so long, which I stopped doing with the young guy at the firework because I realised I could feel that there was no connection when I was doing that. He didn't want that. I had to get another way. I had to just be open. And I feel like that carer has been such a strong, um,
It's a role again. Yeah.
yeah, such a strong role that's just been nearly like just so unconsciously so close to me, so close to this self. those are.
Yeah. So when you slip into that role, do you see it happening?
Well, I just noticed it after. Um, I hadn't really termed it, but it's only talking to you and with the last doing the firewood and with this the wife of
Mm.
the guy. But
Okay, so
basically
it's an
now I'm
area for you
noticing.
to
I'm noticing it.
explore. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've done it. I know I did it to death with my daughter and my son and my grandchildren. Like
Mm.
I would do it. Um, I know I've done it. That's been my whole profession, really.
Yeah.
Um, and, and my, but now it's like going, like, because I don't want any identification. So and
Well, good luck with that one. Yeah. But this is what this journey's about, isn't it? It's about recognizing, not stopping it, but recognizing it when it's there. And as soon as we recognize it, of course, it becomes something changes. So
yeah, and to recognize it in the moment too, Vince. Like
yeah.
that's, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
So Jackie, you're really good at telling stories. You what you've done tonight here is told a whole lot of stories about circumstances. And then we have these moments when you're recognizing that there's a relationship between you and these stories, what these stories are about. When I say stories, I mean you're describing
yeah, yeah.
circumstances, things that
Mm.
are happening. If I was to try and come up with stories about what's happened to me over the last 24 hours, I'd have trouble doing it. I could come up with something tonight in the last couple of hours, but beyond that, I'd have to work really hard to try and remember what happened. Um, and I think that's because nothing gets filed away into memory so much about all that stuff. It's if there is a relationship, if there is identification, then I'll remember it for sure. That becomes a really strong thing. So I'm thinking that maybe of value for you is when your mind starts narrating what's been happening, that's a signal for you to look for what is your connection to that stuff.
Mm.
So let's be a bit more proactive about identifying the identification.
Well, just stop for a minute, please. I just want to take that in, that last bit. Identifying, being proactive about identifying
When
the
identification is active.
non-identification.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I know. I've been a great storyteller,
Mm.
but I don't, yeah, and that's what I don't want. Um,
Yeah. Well, there's no need, you see. There's only the only value in telling the story, in having the story there, in remembering things as you go to become part of a story in the future is to create identification, is to create a self, which makes me think that if you're not doing that, if you're not creating a self by having an attachment to all of these events that you're narrating about, that you could experience some grief about the emptiness of things if that happens. I don't know whether I don't want to predict that, but I'm just saying there may be something else going on that keeps those stories active. Because you're very good at it. You do it, in a colourful way, and your detail is excellent.
and that's the thing is like when I had the after and I've got the good story, the daughter story, or the story when the person
Yeah, yeah,
came
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Remember the person that came here without, um, that lived in my house, that type of story. I've got,
Yes, yes.
which I'm very aware now of not looking at a lot of social media at all because of it's nearly like the attention.
Yeah, that
Anything
generates
I give
stories, doesn't it?
attention to, what's that?
So looking at social media generates
Yeah,
storytelling
I
straight away. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah. Remember, like I saw a car, on the social media in this local area, and the next minute that car turns up here,
Mm.
where and taken over the house that particular time.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
remember that one.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's something. That's how it's so close. This, yeah, yeah. It's like the eyes are a problem. Like anything I see easily created, or I don't know how to say it. Um,
Yep.
but how you describe it's like I feel like there is just a subtle little shift to the emptiness, or when I've experienced that too, like in lovemaking. There's
Mm.
there is just that shift when I'm not,
Yep. Yeah. You're
but
not aiming
it
for some,
yes,
yes.
yeah, aiming for any outcome.
Mm. And that's the problem with stories is that they always head in the direction of something. There's always an outcome or an end or a goal or whatever with stories.
So what can I do? Is what um,
Watch for the feeling of the connection to whatever turns up. So remembering that whatever turns up, which is the content of your story, is totally irrelevant. And it's just there. It's a carrier, if you like. It's just a container for the creation of a self. So by watching for your feelings that you might describe as the hooks into or the stickiness of or the connection to something, that's where it is. That's where the self gets born. That'd be confusing, was it?
yeah, I'm trying to get that bit. It's something like I go a little. It goes runs off, runs away from this hearing. When you said that, I couldn't get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I couldn't take it
Okay,
in.
so another way to put this, just a very slight different perspective. Just a couple of degrees further around. What we've got is that whatever the story is about, the content itself is not relevant to anything. It appears to be a distraction, a diversion away from something. Well, we don't worry. We're also not worried about what that something is because that also can only be told as a story. Right? What we have is a connection to that story. How do we feel about the story? Not about the content of it, but about the fact that it's there. Yeah, that's a hard one too, because you will focus on the content of it. I mean, without the content, there's no story. So it's a tricky one to see that the fact of the story existing separately from, differently to the content of what the story's about. But what I'm saying is don't get sucked into what the content of the story is about. Just recognize that there's a connection to that. And that
Is it like?
connection,
Is it like the
yeah,
feel? You mean the feeling of the story? Do you? Like
Not the
the
feeling of the story
sensation?
itself. No, no, not the story, not the feeling of what the story is about. The feeling about what it means to you.
Yeah, okay, yes, yes,
You know,
yes.
how
I
important is
hear
it?
that.
How important, how big, how how personal is it? That's a good word, personal. That's really close to where the identification is in the connection to it. How personal is the story? What does that feel like, that personal aspect? What are the sensations in the body with it being personal? Words don't cut it. You've got to you're looking for the an experience, and that experience can't really be described. You can kind of simplify it to try and describe it, but that doesn't really. It's not really relating to it. The experience is a very subtle feeling of it being personal that you're looking
Mm.
for. Yeah.
And this is, but it has to be a personal experience.
Well, the experience, again, it really cutting it sharply here. It's the experience will always be personal, even if the content of the story that generates the experience is not personal, but it is the personal nature of what how you respond to the story that you're looking at. That's where your identification is.
Yeah, like it's just an example if this is right. Just like someone I was talking to today, and I noticed he was trying to be like I was trying to be. We were both trying to be really easygoing. Now, does this is this okay? What you're saying? But I didn't go into it any deeper. I knew he was trying to be very pleasing, and I was too.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Well,
sort of, and
that's
then I
it. That's
felt
yes.
it was a bit sticky, a little bit sticky.
Yeah.
There was a
So don't worry
stickiness
about
there.
him. That he's irrelevant. You can't really know what's going on for
No,
him. You
well,
can
he was
only
bringing that
imagine.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. But you wanting to please
Mm.
is exactly what we're talking about. Yes, that is that personal aspect to the experience that was happening.
That's so thick within this one. So like the carer.
Yep.
Maybe it's very close together actually.
Yeah. Well, it's in almost
That's
everything. All of our relationships offer exactly that discovery of that personal nature and what it feels like.
that's going to be that's very hard because I think it's either that to me it's that side or the other side like when um I feel like nearly a dizziness talking about this. It's I've been getting that like today. It's like all over the place. It's like the head's nearly trying to stay on at all costs. Honestly, it's
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really do because I'm thinking um with nearly everything. Yeah, yeah. The self is been so ingrained somewhere like
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
twenties.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I can dip into the emptiness, like I've told you with that love making time with that was just came through with laughter, or with the person that's really dying that I'm looking after, and I don't think there's much of him really. Like it's just a nearly like a piece I'm sitting with now.
Mm,
It's not when so there's nothing I have to try to be. So it's
absolutely. Yeah,
either those
yeah,
times, but it's either those times or there's quite a division between those times, or there's the other side where I'm trying to be something, and the trying to be something is so much harder for me
yeah.
that I'd
Yeah.
rather be on my own
It's not
than
necessary. Yes, that's right. And so what you said before was a brilliant one, whether you realise it or not, and that was that this is a headless process because what we're looking at doesn't happen in the
oh,
head; it happens below the head.
well, that's what it feels like it's happening today.
Mm.
Yeah. Ah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Jackie. That's good. Mm.
No, thank you. I'll just be with that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Good one.
thanks, Vince.
Hey,
Hi, Lenny.
hi. I don't know. I just have like one, two quick questions. Because I don't know. Maybe I don't know how it was for you after like let's say first glimpse. If you also like went through like I don't know, Marius was kind of very often mentioning it like, a phase of a lot of turmoil, emotional one. So I have a question about that. I don't know, are
Yeah.
you
Go. Yep.
because I don't know, for me, I feel like it's going incredibly in waves. And I know, I mean, it's also senseless to ask this, but it's yesterday, for example, there was like the last few days, there was like an intense wave coming in where, because like I feel like most of the time I'm very aware that I'm not Eleni and all this is just a construct of stories that are like self-enforcing themselves. But then there is like days where it's kind of the exact other ratio, where I have like maybe let's say 5 to 2% only where this is seen or where this is known. Most of the time it then just feels like, also just another thought, like, this is just stories, this is a thought, blah, 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 and then that also feels like a thought itself. So I mean, there's like days when I feel like honestly there's like a thunderstorm of meanness coming in, and I don't know. And as much as I know I'm not doing anything here, this is just the machinery unraveling.
Mm.
Still, that feels like, I mean, in on those days, it feels like something is overlooked, not seen, or let's say the machinery is not fed enough with stuff that helps it to see. Because, like, again, like the last 2 days, I was so caught in all the content and all the emotions, and especially like emotions that I feel like, honestly, dude, I'm sitting through this burn every morning, every time after wake up, and it never changes. And I know I should not want it to change, but why am I doing this then anyway? Like,
Mm.
why the fuck should I keep going if it's just like getting worse and worse in a sense? And I don't
Yeah.
know, it'd just be nice to hear, there's a normal
Yeah.
this is gonna, I don't know, get better. Yeah, I know you're not here to tell me that, right? But I don't know.
Or
What
what
is your
if what if I told you that it'll probably get worse?
Yeah, because it actually does sometimes, yeah.
Mm.
But forever? Because actually
This,
yesterday I'm saying like I actually did have suicidal thoughts. And there was
wow.
actually,
Yeah.
and it is actually at a point where it takes so much energy just to exist sometimes,
Yeah.
because it's like there is one wave coming in, and there's like all, the shields that I used to have before gone and less
Yeah,
and less.
they don't work anymore, right? So I was going to ask you how you feel about this, but you just told me. You feel pretty swamped, lost in this, and when you think of suicide, of course, you're thinking that that's the only way you can end the pain.
I mean, my plan was kind of to do suicide, but not like on a bodily level, more on a identity.
Okay, well, okay,
Was,
so that's still
but
a way
yeah,
of wanting to end the pain, isn't it?
yeah, obviously it
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
some, I mean,
So,
and I think it is
can you
normal.
imagine why is the pain there? I mean, I don't ask. I'm not really meaning to say why, but I'm saying, can you appreciate that there is a reason why that pain is there?
You mean outside of the story content?
Yes, not how it is created, the pain, but the fact that it exists, the fact that it is there.
Mm.
Can you imagine that it's there for a reason?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I had the strong feeling it was there always to protect me, protect this
Yes.
identity. And in a
Yeah.
sense, like that's what I did, or okay, really
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. We can use words here. It's okay. I know what you mean.
but also, I was having a good talk with somebody's also into non-duality, and he also like reminded me, like also like meet it with, like this, kindness also, because in a sense, it all was there. It is, I mean, it all was kind of like installed there to protect, vulnerability and like this ego. And so in a sense, it's a benign thing. Never wanted you any bad. It's like very, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
innocent.
Yeah. So
So
even
that's
if we
how I
can see that,
perceive it. And just wanted to say, like, and the moment like I did that, and I it was really cool because it got like also a new relationship to it. But then like the day afterwards, it felt like the storm hit because of that, like even harder.
yes,
And that's
yes,
something I'm
yes.
really interested in why.
Yeah. Right. So if you can imagine that there's something you can do to lighten it, to make it less heavy, what that does is opens up an opportunity for more heaviness to turn up.
Hmm. I just need to go in because my laptop is dying too from power.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. But I'm okay.
Yep.
Or yeah. So the question is, all this heaviness has to come. All this heaviness has to be felt, or
Well, yeah, it's not a choice. You can't say, well, I'm going to choose to face it or I'm going to choose to feel it. It's there. Where's the choice?
no, there is no choice anyway.
Of course, that's right. It's there or it's not there. Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's also, what is also there is, oh God, I want this not to be here. That's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, and also that is something that can't be helped. I mean,
Yep. So
and I know.
Here's Marius, and he would just fan the fire. Let's make it hotter.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Um, I'm not really up to speed on what's been talked about.
Okay.
Can you fill me in quickly?
Yeah, no, I mean, even though I know it's maybe pointless, it is. But sometimes it really does help to, let's see, like have this draw of like, yeah, that might be part of the process and not just because like, you know, I told you, like, after this glimpse, there's so much of, you know, emotional stuff, and you know, and it kind of comes in waves, and I just had like the last few days was like such a huge and intense waves also, after, like, weeks after this entire thing started. And there is, let's say, this also thought, which is also just a thought, but still, or this feeling, yeah, it's kind of stuck with the same, also, like, subjects. Like there's this one major thing, you know, that you already this feeling, okay, also, yeah, it's a story, feelings have been felt from it and accepted, or not even accepted, just felt, and yeah, and no one really cannot escape those. But then it comes again and again and again, and then there's a feeling like, okay, so maybe something is overseen. And also, what has in a way changed is that, I mean, there was now another approach to it, because after a talk with somebody, so which reminded me, like, maybe, you know, before you bypass the stories entirely and just saying like it's just a story and I just go directly to sensation, blah blah blah, but you know, it's always coming up again and again with the same force. So the approach was, okay, buy in a little bit more into the story and meet it, you know, with, you know, kindness and love, and see it as the protection that it used to be for you, this mechanism, and it's actually coming from probably a very benign place. But then it just got worse. It just got fucking intense. And like yesterday, there was almost like a thunderstorm where I just, you know, tried to survive. There was so much meanness, so much so much story, and this was always like already completely bought in until before, you know, you just minutes later you were like, whoa, that was one intense train. So yeah, I don't know what you guys can tell me, but I would just, yeah.
I just want to clap. I think it's great.
So what comes up here is that you still feel it feels to me like you're still approaching this as an approach. Like it's like there's still a doer here.
I guess. I mean, yeah. But I don't even see it like that. I mean, it's just like I cannot even do anything on days like that. I mean, I could not even go out and do other things because it was just overwhelming. So I felt like, okay, I sit with being, and this is all I have energy for. And even that almost felt like it kills me.
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, not like before I say this, nothing is wrong. So that's what needed to happen for you to kind of cope with that situation. So that's what happened. But um, there there seems to, like, if I can make the self, so the self in that situation is the witness of it, sort of the witness that wants to subtly feel it so it will go away.
Mm-hmm.
So you're having it's a distance from the self and what the self is kind of watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I heard Vince earlier today say, you know, what is the relationship or what is the connection to that?
How personal is it? I love that one.
Yeah, so the connection there is you feel like that has some, like that is about you,
Yeah.
like, yeah, that it says something about you, that it's affecting you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But without that connection, there is just this experience happening. Like it's just.
But you know what's so frustrating about it? Because, you know, I read your texts, which really do also so much for me, and this is really somehow understood. And on there are a lot of days that is really something that can be seen. But then again, like there are sometimes days and you feel like, what the fuck, where did this was coming from? Where is this one coming from? Where this also all this seems also just like a thought concept that you just heard and learned someday, and you're already, you know, deep in this self, in this personalization before you even can realize that this has already happened. So you're always behind and you can never see the mechanism while it's at it, or yeah, you're already in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is this is a stupid way of saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway. So now you're on, let's say, a next level, or a whatever you want to call it, a more subtle level. So you kind of, you've seen through the self when life is good, right? And then the nervous system gets triggered somehow, and suddenly it feels real again. And that is because it's more intense, right? So suddenly it feels threatening, it feels more intense, it feels, oh, I have to do something, I don't want to feel this, right? And from my perspective, the only way to burn through that is to, in that moment when it's burning, locate the self and stay with that while it's burning. In don't react, don't do anything, don't try to make it go away, don't
accept it even. Don't have a connection to it.
just locate it. Just where is the self here? Where
So
is
you mean
me?
where's the body? Or
No, where? Yeah, well, in your experience, what makes this about me? Where is me?
Yeah, well, it's always just in thoughts.
Yeah, but that is a mental conclusion. I don't want you to just jump to that answer. I want you to look, keep looking, stay with the looking of where is the me.
When you're feeling that stuff, that really shitty, heavy stuff, it is because there is a me there. And you can tell yourself all you like that there's no self, but you're experiencing a connection to that shit that's going on. And that's what you've got to look for. Well, you don't got to look for, but if you look for that, look for what is the connection to the feeling. Well, no, what is the connection in feeling? What is the feeling connection to that stuff that's going on? No, even that's not right.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, I don't know if we're saying the same thing, Vince, but from what I'm saying is that you won't find a me there. But you need to look. There's never a me. The me never existed. But there's a belief that there is a me when it's intense. So
And
look.
That belief is what creates those
ownership.
Yep. That shitty feeling comes from this belief that has no foundation in reality. But you're not going to find the belief, you can only find the consequences of it. and that is that it's personal, that it's you that it's happening to. They're the hooks. They're the created self. The belief is in the part of you that's screaming out, "Why me?" when it's happening.
See, that's
So,
so difficult with
so
inquiry. I'm sorry. Okay.
no, I just want to give you a practical example. So let's say you're triggered, and then there's this intense sensation in your chest. That is like, it feels like a fireball in your chest.
Mhm.
The assumption or the habitual connection to this is about me is in that fireball.
Mhm.
So look into the fireball and see, can you find a me?
Mhm.
Or is it just a nervous system response?
Yeah, and that's exactly so. But I imagine that when you're having this experience, that you're not looking at the fireball in your chest, that it's in your head where it's so painful, or in your whole being. It's like a blanket over you, or something like that. Would that be accurate? How do you experience this when this cascade of shit is occurring to you, this meing that's going on to the extent that you say it's going on? How do you experience that?
Well, it's moving. Sometimes it is. Yeah, it depends on sometimes, let's say, the intensity of the content of the story, but like sometimes it's in the chest, and then, what I was doing like the entire day yesterday, then, then feeling into this chest, just like
Okay, so you were already
that was all
able.
I
Yeah.
did, just feeling everything that comes, and just also trying what you said, like not be in a like I don't want this state, just in like looking, but I did not do an inquiry because honestly, like inquiry, I always have this
No,
feeling.
inquiries in your head.
Yeah. So
Just look.
yeah.
Yeah.
So again, like it was sometimes in the chest, and you stay with the chest. Sometimes it moves, and then it's like a fire burn over the entire skin. It kind of moves around anyway, all the time, and then sometimes it goes away again and comes again. So it's kind of waves, very shit, waves of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. Like what I didn't do is like looking. For me, it was more like feeling, feeling, fucking feeling,
Mm.
and at some point, like saying like, yeah, but I mean, is this real? Is this true? And then, or isn't that also like just a story? What is real now? Real now is the place you are at and this burn. And that's what I'm doing kind of a lot, but just seems to do nothing. Just a lot of burning. Yeah.
Maybe
But
it
I
will
did
help you. I
not.
can tell you that there is still burning going on here.
Okay.
I guess the difference is the burning isn't seen as a problem.
Mhm.
It isn't seen as about me. But I can still like I recently I have this fascination with my burning around um, lies or falseness or delusion.
Mhm.
I still kind of get a bit triggered when people are talking out of their ass. Yeah,
You'd
so
be triggered a lot then.
so but it's not something that I feel like I have to change. I don't feel like it needs to be different. It's not
Yeah.
um it's there until it's not. There's
Yeah.
no image of I'm not perfect unless that is gone.
Yeah.
There is just this. There's just what's happening, whatever is happening.
And I
And
envy that because, sorry, just wanted to like, because I still am a lot and it is still personal, like as much as I feel it, but like always I do it always delayed. The story was there, it hit me hard, I believed it for a while, and then you're like, ah, I'm sorry, you believe the story, and then you do all these things, but
That
it's
still
never.
changes things. Doesn't matter if it's delayed. Sometimes that's the only way it can happen. That's fine. You'll get better and better at it.
But I was interrupting you, Mario. Sorry.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So, but from experience, the example I just gave you, I had plenty of other examples like that before, but those has dissolved in a sense. They're not happening anymore. And now the mind wants to wants to probably make this a goal, like, okay, but then it can dissolve and it's gonna go away. And that's the trap, right? So at some point in this process, and I don't know how and why it happens. I only know what happens in the sense of my experience, but at some point, um, looking for what about this is personal, and finding nothing sooner or later makes it not personal. It's just an assumption or a belief that hasn't been seen. And I also think it's a habitual response that as soon as it feels intense,
Okay.
then it's suddenly interpreted as personal, like it's about me and I need to do something about it. But why is that different from any other sensational experience? Why don't you have to do something about everything else, only that intense part? Why is it only that that is personal?
Yeah, I don't know. Those stories, I don't know, they feel so true. And honestly, I am actually pretty good with burn. Like there's a lot of burn that is actually fine, even sometimes enjoyable. But it feels like I'm missing something because those stories are always bought into. Like so many are not anymore, but those always are. And I don't know if there's anything that one can.
What stories are you talking about now?
I think it's still this loneliness story because as much as I can tell myself, yeah, it's just an interpretation of something, but it feels like the burn is there before the story because it sometimes is even there when I just wake up. There, it feels like that doesn't even need a trigger. It's just like something that's it feels so real, in a sense. It feels so real because it comes without, an obvious trigger. Because very often I see triggers and I'm like, ah, no, see, and this is the mechanism, blah, 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 blah. But this one feels almost innate to me.
So are you saying that you wake up with a burn or a sensation that is uncomfortable, and then the mind attributes some meaning to that sensation? Oh, this must mean because
Yeah.
X, Y, Z.
That's where it becomes personal at
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah.
So I had an interesting thought come up here. When you get down into the burn happening in the body, in the chest or wherever it's happening, look as hard as you like and you won't find anything personal. There are just sensations. But as soon as you go back up into the head and even look at a story, it feels personal again. It can only feel personal in the head, in the mind. And aren't all stories just conceptual, made-up stories? They might if we believe that story was the cause of this pain in the chest, it's not. It comes after the pain in the chest. It doesn't come before that story. So if you play with the body and you can get to where it doesn't feel personal, there is just this sensations going on, and go up into the head, and immediately it will start to feel personal again, and then go back down into the body and experience it as not personal, and then realize that whatever is in your head, any author could make up that story. They're just words. They're just ideas.
I totally agree. There's just this one nagging question. It's like, why do I even wake up with this? Other people don't. Why do I wake up with like intensity of burn? Yeah, I mean, is this normal? Is this part of awakening? Is this why the fuck? I'm so
Well, you're saying that you imagine that while you're asleep there are no stories going on, there are no thoughts.
no,
But
I
as
think it's
you wake up, you go through a stages of waking up, and before you're fully conscious, you've got stories going.
You see that any answer to that question is as empty as any other answer to that question.
I do see it. Yes. I actually do
And
see it.
and do you see that the only reason why that question is there is because you can't stand the uncertainty of it being there, not understanding and not knowing when it's going to be gone, and not you're trying to control life.
Mm.
No amount of answers is going to do anything with that. And I would say that trying to understand or do anything about it is only perpetuating what just is happening.
Mm.
And the mind doesn't want that to be pointed out. But that's the hard, cold facts. And it sucks for the mind.
Yeah, the mind comes up with stories like it'll be here forever when it's happening.
Actually, the worst thing that it does is that it says, like, you had a phase in your life when it was not that.
Therefore, it cannot be again.
When you're waking up next to people you loved and, in a circle,
Yeah.
in a relationship where it was not there. So it's there now, so it must be that. And that is why it feels
There's a combination of stories, eh? One's
so real. And this is why sometimes like going out of the head into the sensation feels less true than that story. And that is why I don't know. I don't know if that's, but it feels like that is why it's so persistent. I don't know.
So, interpreting any experience makes it personal in a way. So if you can see that that is moving, the interpretation, you can also drop it, because then you see it. You can also drop it. You can stop feeding the behavior of narration and interpretation. And it might start again, and then you can drop it again. It might start again, and then you can drop it again.
I can only
A lot
see
of
though, not do dropping. I mean, I cannot let, right? I mean, that is what I tried, and that's what fucks me also up. Sorry, like I'm also like a little bit annoyed due to the last days, but I'm also like this letting go shit is so frustrating because it somehow feels like it's something I could do. Like I could do this movement. I cannot. All I can do is watch. And most of the time I watch how it's not doing that. It's still holding on. I can just watch that. So,
you can direct your attention away from the story.
okay.
You can drop out from being sucked into the dream about what this is about, what this means, why it's here, yada yada yada, and you can
Mm,
just come back to reality. What is actually here?
okay.
And I'm not saying because I feel like there's so many I come across that I'm so many. Well, a lot of people I come across that I talk to about, their perspective on just feeling the sensation. So many people seem to have this idea of like almost piercing it with their attention
Mhm.
in a way that you're actually just keeping it a little bit at the distance and watching it. So you'll still feel, you're still watching, you're still feeling all of that. But you can do that for 100 years and it's not doing anything because you're just keeping it at distance. Relax your attention. Don't don't go holding it there and don't go running away from it. Just let go. Be.
Okay. Thank you, Rose. Finally something.
Finally
Because yeah,
something you can do.
not do, but I mean, honestly, I know I'm not doing that, but feed the machinery, please, because the machinery is doing it. But I need to, I feel like it would be nice to feed it with some new information, because that's what it did. It was like the impulses come, the stories come, and it's like, okay, look at it, pierce it.
Mm.
And you're like, fuck, I do this now for a month. And nothing, and it's, and I know I shouldn't do it about to change, but still, it would be cool to, I don't know, why am I then still here? Otherwise, like if I don't want like a better relationship to it, but the relationship just got more toxic.
Well, that's a tricky one as well because nobody said that this will be better or anything. That's an expectation that you have.
I guess so, yeah. But I also, I mean, I told Vince, and I'm saying it now. I'm not saying it to for attention grabbing, but like there are now suicidal thoughts coming up because there's nothing joyful anymore. There's
Yeah.
just pain
Yeah.
and less shielding.
Yeah.
So if it's all pain, I told you, like I'm not doing this forever. Uh,
Now, this moment, this instant is forever. So you are doing it forever. The next forever might not be there, who knows? But this is forever right now. So wear it. You've got no option. You've got no choice.
Do you see that also that forever just implies that you are projecting something in the future that you have no idea
uh,
about?
yeah.
The only thing that is happening right now. And I don't mean that like as a silly non-dual concept. It's just bring it back to what is real now. The pain that you're experiencing now only feels unbearable because you're imagining it to be lasting and forever some future imagined projection.
Yeah. You're right.
And if it's, if it becomes really unbearable, reach out. Don't just sit and, get lost in projection in fantasy land.
Well, I feel like, yeah, I mean, I did not reach out yesterday because I didn't know to whom, but at least I stayed with the now rather than distract.
Mm.
That's all I did to me yesterday, I guess.
And like I said earlier, anything that happens is correct, is right. So if you needed to do whatever you did yesterday, then there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's okay to distract. Sometimes you need to cope. Your nervous system is fried. It's part of this thing we're talking about. It can get intense sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard to not extrapolate it, though. I try.
Yeah.
If that happens, that happens.
It happens right now.
Yeah. It's not wrong. It's not bad.
Yeah. It feels not good, though.
Cool.
In this, the forever
Yeah.
that we're talking about is also a little bit hellish now. So.
Said a little bit hellish, not a lot, not a huge amount, not an unbearable amount, just a little bit hellish.
For now, yes. This
Mm.
forever, yeah. Well,
So when we talk about the burn, see, I want to make you feel better, and this is not right, really.
you don't have to actually.
But when you think about the burn, do you imagine that it's like actually consuming fuel, turning it into ash? So it is a progressive thing, this burn, isn't it? It's not just a picture of a burn, it's a real burn.
And I love that picture. But the
Yeah.
reason I talked to you is because I felt like there's somehow endless fuel in that one
Yes,
story.
it seems to be. It seems to be for sure. Yep. I get that.
And yeah, there was just wondering if there's a wrong way.
No, it can't be. Doesn't matter. I don't have to know what's there to say it can't be wrong. If you've got it, if it's there, it's not wrong.
Yeah. So to please the mind a bit, this is totally normal. Everything that you've shared now, I can deeply relate to.
Then I shall not take more time of others now.
Oh, you selfish person, you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the pointers. Especially with the attention. Thank you. And with the personal. Thank you also. Thank you.
Thank you too. And thank you, Marius. It's like when you said that the burn is still going on here. I mean there. Oh, I don't know what it touched something. I don't know what. I think I'm getting triggered every time Vince says it will get better. It's just, it's not my experience. Like, ah, okay, let's have it.
Richard, tell us where you're up to with this stuff. Being a new face. You have to unmute.
Hi. Yeah, new faces. Can you hear me now? Okay, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Where am I right now? Um, I'll tell you something interesting the other day. Um, there was like a sense of being angry at that there really isn't anything, and I wondered why I was angry. It was like angry and disappointed, and I was really angry at everybody that sort of sold something to me that really the term selling sand to the Arabs or ice to the Eskimo was so clearly seen, and I was just really pissed off. Just like almost like telling. Well, I came to this thing like like telling fish about water. It's that fucking obvious, you know. But it sounds like there's something which kind of keeps the mind moving for the next, seeking for something. And that came about after I think I'd heard somebody say that there's there's nothing to seek, right? It was that sentence that I realized that what we're seeking, there was nothing to seek, and it really hit that. Um, and then it just became a bit easier to catch outside of thinking, let's call it that, or the mind, whatever you want to call it. It just became easier. So basically, many years ago, it was probably 15 years ago, I caught, this is how it was. Like I caught it out. Like it just collapsed. The whole sense of identity just collapsed. And it really was just a full collapse. And it lasted about 3 days. And it was just so obvious that that's what I had been, always been. And yet, at some point, that another identity or belief, or whatever, came back very, very strongly. And I couldn't use the same technique to catch it out. It just felt totally overwhelming. And for quite some time, I was like, it didn't really matter because I knew it had nothing to do with me. But yet, it was still very, very painful. right? Let's call it painful. Pain can be anything. It can be miserable, can be, you know, just depressing. It can be all sorts of things, but just suffering to some degree. But
Yeah, getting kicked out of heaven.
it was that. It was that. It was that, man. It was so fucking painful. What did I do wrong? Because at the moment, for
Yeah.
some reason, I thought I can't be touched. A thought was in another universe, like it was so far away. I would have had to expel so much energy to even gravitate one. I was like, what the hell was all that about? And but I'd say, yeah, I'd say more recently, I think there's sort of an exhausting that goes on. There's like an exhausting of the whole thing, but it can obviously it feels and it appears that it's different for everybody. That's and the sort of sense that I know anything, you know, had to go. That's for sure. And that it'll look anything like everything that I remember is going to be a memory, and everything that I can project is going to be some form of fantasy, some form of thought. Anything the mind can do is always about the next or the previous. And I know that it's got nothing to do with
Oh,
reality. So, so I guess I just stopped putting attention in any of the carrots, in any of the dangling, in any of it. And I mean, if and then yeah, you're right. There's just like just feel like a burn. It feels like I found like an eraser switch. Like there's like a there's like a cheat where I just sort of say, as soon as I sense like a thought coming in and taking my attention, I just immediately go, well, what's outside of that? What's outside? Like, it's not that. Obviously, it's not that. And what's outside of that? And that story then can either untangle itself and I'll feel whatever that is through whatever attachments and stories that's been a part of my life. And I welcome that. That's not something I don't ignore it. I don't deny it. It just becomes an energy thing that's impersonal, even though it feels personal. It's like this kind of paradox. It's absolutely allowed to be. Like if I need to feel compassionate about something, it's absolutely real and it's there and it's alive. There's no denial, that's for sure. But and it seems to like flip in and out. Um, you know, and at times it can be quite well, don't know. What can it be like? It's still trick. It still trick me into thinking something like ultimate, like the lady was just saying there about it's always going to be like this. You know, like it's definitely that can still come, and then you're like that. Just remind myself that that's total bullshit, and that what's outside, oh, that's a belief. That's got to be a thought because it has a position. Because there's no position here. There's no position whatsoever. Um, so I mean, that's it. I don't really know where I am, but I saw your meeting through I think I probably came across it many years ago, but through timings and stuff, it's never worked out. So anyway, today sort of did.
Oh, good stuff.
That's it, really.
Mm. Yeah, so it seems to me that you've got this stuff down pat. Yet how come you're not back in heaven?
Um, Good question.
I don't really expect an answer. I was just making a point.
That's a good point, though.
How does your experience have to look for it to be heaven? How do you qualify heaven?
Okay. So for me, I think the context might help, it might not, but how do I qualify it? For me, the seeking started very early. I remember engaging with the mind because I was about 7, right? So I was about 7, and my mum, my family, like, it was not great. It was not good, to say the least. And she was very, very heavily in something that I could tell had nothing to do with the reality of things. So I decided, because she was being like, I don't know, just everything felt unnecessarily difficult. So I remember deciding to go into what I could consider she was doing, which she was seemed to be in thought, in her head, in projections, in lies. So I remember actually going in thinking, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to find a solution, right? I'm going to find an answer. And the reason I did that is because I wanted everyone, her to be free of her mind, or from what I could see was her unhappiness, and for everyone to get on, everyone to be, just to be cool, just live, just be yourself, just. So I guess I went on this mission to try to bring my family together and all this kind of stuff over the years, to realize that all of that was all still part of, it was all part of the story. And I did quite well in the whole thing. I did quite well, and then I recently lost everything. Right, so material, financial, family, the job, career, home, you name it, everything went, and that sucked. And it didn't matter whether I knew or recognized what freedom was. No one else did. Let's call it something like that. And so it was like, all I can do is try to help other people be free by showing them their giving them opportunity to overcome their their challenges, their traumas, their whatever. And so I did that with family, and every time I ended up the worst, coming off worst. But I had a lot of fuel for that. I just wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give up. It doesn't matter if I end up almost on the street. I'm going to come back and give you another opportunity. It was that kind of thing. And yeah, I think more recently, I've just sort of given up on that as well. And it was like, I suppose you could say, what's heaven without others to share it with, something like that, without the ones I love most, without those that I care. Why, how can I be in heaven if my mum is suffering, and my dad is this, and you know, something like it's like that, and it feels like a deep pang. If we're not able to be authentic, if we're not able to, if we've set up a system that seems to just completely avoid reality, you know. Um,
Do you see that if that is your gauge or your
mm,
expectation or something, that you will never be in heaven?
yes, I
Because
do see that. Mm,
it what you're saying is that your belief, you have a belief that there is any type of control in
mm.
life, which is an illusion. I don't know if have you looked at that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do see it. And so all I can say is that, um, well, yeah, it's there's no control. Yeah, yeah. That's it. That's clear. Um, I mean, I don't know why I had to tell you that story, but let's say, yeah, maybe I've never, yeah, I've probably have not allowed myself to tell the story. It's like, I don't know, just wanted to
Well,
tell that story.
it's obvious why you've not told that story. It's total bullshit, isn't it? I mean,
Well, I believe believed something in it.
I get it. I get it. I mean, I once had that same dream, and I probably started
Yeah,
in the same way to you. I used to
yeah,
think that I told my mother once that I was born on the wrong planet, the one that I was supposed
yeah,
to be born on. Everybody got on with each other, Same
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
story as you had.
Hmm.
But reality, you're saying reality is that the whole world can wake up? That's not going to happen. At least my
No,
story is that it won't,
yeah.
maybe eventually, but I won't be alive to see it. But,
Mm, mm, mm.
I can't be in heaven unless everybody else is there with me.
That's it. That's it. It was something like, so yeah, there was a thing like, I'll yeah, the story was, I'm going to bring them, they're going to come with me or something like that. I
Yeah,
don't I
yeah.
I'm talking about the past now. I'm not saying this is true now, but that was definitely with me a long time. Now it feels like, okay, this is now, so now it feels like there's a there's an unraveling. Like it just feels like
Perfect. Yeah, love it.
like last night, like last night, even last night, like the other day, fucking again, crystal clear. There isn't even an observer. There isn't even something that can say either. It's laughable. It's almost like, that's why I was saying I was just pissed off the fact that I could even talk to somebody about this thinking they have something. It's absolute bollocks. But then I go to, like last night, I'm like, my all this stuff, pain in my belly, and it's like it comes up all the times I wasn't able to say no. because I have to say something to somebody that doesn't feel comfortable to me. I write them a message. It's like, that's it. It's come finally. I've said it. Boom, there you go. And then this comes out, and it's like there's memories and there's this kind of thing, and I just go, yeah, cool. That's
Mm.
that's what it is, and so that continues. I mean, when your question of heaven is like, what is heaven? Heaven is, I
Well,
mean,
when I first said it, I was referring to that period you had, that 3 days after all
oh yeah,
identification appeared to just go. That fell away. You had such clarity, such,
mhm.
how could you describe it any other way than being in heaven? It was just a beautiful 3 days, wasn't it?
That was heaven. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, no,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
asked the following question: what is heaven? Like, what are you?
Yeah, your criteria for heaven.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah. So, so
Okay,
the
okay.
yeah.
My criteria for heaven is, because it was very clearly seen that there was no I. It didn't exist,
Mhm.
right? And then what happened? Like, if you want, I'll tell you that. Like, it might sound a little bit strange, but so I literally, I was heavily seeking at that point. I'd left my family, I'd left everything, and I ended up in India. And I was doing all these practices and what have you, and I was listening to the Osho, and I was, doing the yoga, and I got incredibly sick, almost died in India actually. And I remember doing some practice, and I felt extremely present. Like, whoa, this is the most present I've ever done. I've done loads of retreats and everything. And then in my room, I remember like the mind just saying, "You're going to look like an idiot. You're going to look like an idiot. You're going to look like an idiot," because I was saying stuff, I was chanting something or whatever. And I just, without thinking, I just sort of like, kind of like caught it out, just like, that's not me. But I screamed it out. I didn't give a shit if I was going to look like an idiot kind of thing. I was just like, almost like, fuck you. And, and, all I remember, just like, I just felt this energetic boom, like an implosion in my head. And then and almost at the same time, I hadn't noticed anything had happened, because it's like nothing had happened. But I remember that. And I remember just like looking around the room, and I tried to listen to what I was listening to, couldn't listen to it. I tried to read the book, couldn't read it. I was looking around, and I was just noticing things as they were. I was like, oh, that's a teacup. That's a kettle. That's what it is. That's what it is. Not what I used to see. Now I see it for what it is. And it was like that. It was like being a kid in a way, just light. Just, there's no I left. There's no story. There's no one. I never spoke a word of it, because why would you? Who would? That's how it was for me then. But then after like it was like 3 days I said that. Woke up, no dreaming. It was interesting. I always remember this. There was no dreams, because like the dream must have belonged to an I guess, right? It was like, there's no dream. I used to dream a lot. And then I walked around like the body was still sick. I was in pain, but it didn't, there was no story behind it. It was energetically felt very light, very, very different. And and then it appears that some kind of fear might have come up, or I did something. Like, it was almost like everything was telling me not to do what I was about to do, which was try to use my head in some particular way, almost to be recognized for it. It was something like that. And I was writing to somebody, and the computer died, and then I put it back on. The guys were locking the place up, and I still tried to do it. And I walked down the street, and this is how it was. I was broad daylight. I'm not on drugs, and I came, like, a literally, like an energetic, seemingly, I came from outer space and just landed, boom, back in my body, knocked me down. It was that powerful. And then I just was like on my knees, just like, what the fuck? have I done? I thought I was untouchable at that point. I thought I'd, it was gone, it was over. And that came back. And then I was like, shit. And then the only sense I got was, well, to back up, the only two voices or words I heard in those 3 days was, how did you do that? It's like, how did you
There
do that?
you go. That's what
All
pulled the
right.
eye back in.
It was like, how did you do that? And I was like, and it said, it's too soon. But that was like almost within the first day or half a day. And then I just left it. And then I realized it was like a location. So I'd like relocated myself through some sort of fear or some sort of sense of like something lacking. And I pulled it back in. And then it said, "Oh, now you've done it the quick way. Now you need to do the long way, the gradual way." And I was like,
And
"Well,
here
how
you are.
long?" And it said, "Oh, a couple of years." I was all right, fine, a couple of years. But
Yeah,
like
that's the guy.
2 years go by, 3 years go by, 4 years go by, 10 years go by, 15 years go by, and I go, "Fuck you!" Like, how long is this going to
Well,
take?
there
So
you go.
then I realized I'm lost in a loop of like I've forgotten this now, and now all this is a memory, and now I'm tricked by the memory. And so, and then you're back in a sort of delusion. I'm like, and I know it's not real, and I know I'm not touched, and there's still a peace with all of it. It doesn't matter
Mm.
what happens, that hasn't left. But so maybe somewhere, like you said, what's it's not what I'm missing, it's what's extra. And so all the work has been since then is doing everything to almost take away the stickiness of the eye. Let's call it that.
Evicted again. Yes.
Evicted again. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Mm.
And I just followed my nose really. It took me to
Mm.
this body work, that thing, this thing, and then everything was going well. And then I met somebody, and that somebody, I don't know, in my story, they were probably, there's something that attracted me to them, but they ended up pretty much taking me to hell. I literally went to hell. And it's that was about 3 years ago. It ended, and I've recovered from that now, more or less. But I would say there's not much of an eye, or there's, you know what I mean. It's not the same as then. That seemed to be an extreme.
Mm.
Like there wasn't a single thought for 3 days except the sound, like of something. But it's not like that. But there seems to be. I've just go. Well, there's an intelligence to this. Like it's doing its thing. I can pull myself out of it very easily. So I have a, what do you call it? Like a good, like kind of yardstick. And I mean, so that's it really. I don't know. Life is going back on. So my sense was that life was just moving in its sort of normal, well, like a trajectory of sort of expansion in a gradual way. That's how
Mm.
life seems to go, and it's on it, of its own account. You know, I do. I did what I enjoyed. I didn't do what I didn't enjoy. I don't over push myself.
Let me ask you this. In the
Go on.
last 24 hours,
Yeah,
how much suffering has that eye caused you? The one that came back.
the eye. Fuck all. It doesn't cause me any suffering.
Okay, so why are you not, what's wrong with this then?
Nothing. There's nothing wrong with this. I never said there was.
Okay.
I never said there was. You ask why I'm here.
Mm.
I don't know. Because everyone else is maybe permission to speak freely, sir. Something like that. Like everyone else is selling something. Everyone else is, they've got an idea of what this is. They're pinning you with, you know, judgments, giving you advice, da da da. It's like, I don't need your advice. Like,
Mm.
well, I might if I ask, you know.
Well, yeah. Well, what
Go
from what you've mentioned,
on.
I did get the feeling that it's the I that's telling everybody to fuck off and stop telling me what to do. I'm
Well,
not saying that's
the eye has
wrong.
never done that before. So to be honest, I've been swearing a lot in the last couple of days, which is not normally like me. So
Yeah,
permission, and
yeah,
please forgive me because you've
anything
not met
goes
me
here, mate.
before.
No worries. Yeah,
You've not met me before. So
yeah.
it's almost like a bit of a lid has come off there. Let's put it like that.
Mm.
So I'm being a bit loose.
Good, good. I want you
Yeah,
to be
and
loose. Yeah, yeah,
like I said, there was always a no. You know, I had to be good. I had to do. So something lifted there. And my sense is that it's always doing that. There's like there's a never ending level of, you know, things that have gone on in this life, and we've all had a different life. So that's the humanness of it.
yep, yeah.
It isn't. It hasn't got anything to do with me. At times, it feels more contracted than not. But it's never serious. It's never taken seriously.
Mm. Held
Not too
lightly. Yeah, I
serious, at
like that.
least.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so that's why these things are. There's more and more permission. It's like that. There's more and more permission. I don't mean I'm giving it permission. I mean
yep,
it's like more in a full sense. There's more permission.
yeah, yeah. I get it.
And like
Yeah,
less constraint, less limitation. So, you know, I went through hell because I lost everything and like wasn't able to, you know, and it's still a bit of a pain in the ass that I kick myself less than I used to for like, you know, fucking losing everything, like
yeah.
trusting someone that I shouldn't have done. Um, you know, fair enough. But that's kind of allowed. And
Well, it's happened, hasn't it? That's it.
it's
It's
happened,
done.
mate. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
happened, and that was a process in itself. And also, there's a set there's an appreciation and a compassion for like, you know, time heals certain things as well. You know,
Mm,
things change over time. It's not like, hey, man, this is all going to just like I had the experience where it was all gone in an instant, like that eye
mm.
at least, and that
Yeah,
did
yeah,
change things.
yeah.
Like is night and day. Um, and so, in some sense, it has been a gradual thing.
Yeah, yeah, but that was pretty life changing, though, wasn't it? That's got it. That's even now, all this time later, there's still a
Mhm.
residue of that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and that what was seen those years, like whatever it was, 15 years ago, that was exactly the same as what I remember when I was 7. It was exactly the same. It was
Yeah.
like I knew it, I still hadn't forgot it from then. It was always known. It was
Mm,
just I was trying to prove a point. That was the game. I was trying to prove to someone in my life, this happened to be my mom at the time, that whatever bullshit you're doing, whatever it is you're doing, it's not going to go well. It's not going to work. It's not going
mm.
to end in anything good.
Yeah,
So
you
I'll
can see
play the
through the
game.
delusion. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll play the game with you because you've left me no other choice, just so you can see that no one's going to win. Like I can see it before, no one's going to win, but we'll play it
Mm,
anyway. But
yeah,
I see, you know, myself now and go, what a stupid thing that was to do. But I was only
yeah, yeah,
7.
yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Young and innocent and naive. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And chances
And
are, Mum never learned the lesson anyway.
still hasn't, bless her.
No.
You know?
Yeah, bless her. That's right. Yeah, yeah, good
Yeah,
stuff. Well, you're in a good place here. I'm glad you're here. You know, you're
yeah.
welcome, welcome. Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
mate. Yeah.
and permission to say or do anything.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's plenty. Mm.
Mm. How's things been for you, Jed?
Mm. Well, I'm at a and I liked what you said to somebody recently that the question means how's things been. Question means just start talking and we'll see where it goes. So I'll just
Yeah,
start talking.
basically.
So what seems to be good is I just feel quite settled and not kind of compelled by urges to do things that I've been to a lot of these events over the years, and I always feel quite kind of scattered and stressed out because I'm trying to get the experiences and play my music and be seen and connect with people, and I seem to be quite content just kind of pottering about and doing the little jobs that need doing around the campfire, and it feels good. I just feel settled is the word. I feel pretty level. Um,
Okay, good.
and I was thinking about I have been getting triggered by my partner, which I hadn't quite clocked. But when I was thinking of, talking to you and reflecting on the days, that's been happening. And I mean, it doesn't kind of stay around. I can see that I've been triggered and I can let it go, but it is happening. And
You think it shouldn't be? Or tone that down a bit? Do you think it would be better if it didn't happen?
good question. I suppose it kind of, I don't know, it kind of doesn't quite make sense. That's just what's happening, I suppose, and
Yeah. So it's just happening.
happening. Yeah, I suppose I've got a bit of an idea that, like I notice with everybody else I'm interacting with, um, I'm getting triggered, but it's just like a low level triggering that that
Mm.
dissipate. And I notice that it's stronger with my partner. So I guess that's just go and be with your family if you think you're anywhere near
Yeah,
them, like
exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing, a lot of my friends around here are into similar stuff and go to satsangs with other teachers and all of that. And I noticed we were talking about what was I talking about? Let's see if I can remember. Basically, I noticed a thing came up around. Do you know it? I was talking to somebody and asking them whether talking around the idea of not being able to know anything, and And I don't know, I noticed, it didn't seem like a problem, but I'm just kind of curious around the fact that I couldn't really explain what I meant by that in some aspects. Like we were talking about looking at trees and do you know it's a tree, and is that just some kind of filter or label, and you kind of passing up the world into these little pockets and giving it a name. And I just noticed that I wasn't able to really even convince myself that 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 there isn't a thing called a tree there that we're all experiencing. And yeah, that's it. That's it.
Okay. Well, there is a thing called a tree there, isn't there? Just for the sake of the story, the philosophy of this, you don't know what that thing is. You just know that you've got a label called a tree for it. I mean, it looks like
Yeah,
it
right.
is
It's
to you, but there's the frog and the dog and the cricket all call it a tree too. They see something entirely different to what you see. So we don't know what it is. We just call that thing a tree. That's fine. You're never going to explain it to somebody who's not on the same wavelength.
no, but what kind of was a bit of a flag for me was like, do I even know what I'm talking about myself?
Well, guess what? I don't.
Jed, are you
Uh,
feeling into that you possibly are adopting beliefs without understanding the value of those beliefs?
Something like that, yeah, yeah. Or I'm adopting beliefs that kind of make sense when somebody explains them to me, and I can be like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see that. That makes sense. And then quite quickly it kind of evaporates or something. Or so on some level, I guess I don't know what that means, but I notice that I'm trying to hold or reach for these ideas that made sense to me yesterday
Yeah.
or last week or something.
So for me, the juice in that one is what 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 was behind you wanting to explain that to somebody else or even talk about it with somebody else? Was that something to do with how they would see you?
Yeah, good one. Probably. I mean,
So
I think
there
there's
you go.
something
You
about,
saw some identification.
yeah, or there's something about this is really exciting and interesting. Um, Something about wanting to share it, I think. I guess what I'm thinking as I'm talking about these things with you guys is maybe the thing to do is to just keep coming back to immediate experience, and I don't know that.
Well, you're talking like you can control things.
Well, plant the seed of doing that.
Yeah, sure. Well, if it happens, it happens, and if it happens, it might be nice if the idea came up to look and see whether or not there's some identifying indication behind what happens. I mean, you could want to talk about it because you do find it exciting, and that's kind of objective. You're not looking to enhance your ego in any way with doing that. But on the other hand, you might be wanting to say, oh, well, I know something, look at me. So, it could be any variation of that. Who knows? Only you would know that when it happens. So it happens, that's it. Full stop.
Something came up for me here now, Vince, when you were talking about the not being in control. Sometimes I feel like that can be an unhelpful pointer because he can, it seems like we do have control. Like it seems like I'm controlling this. Of course, we can look closer and understand that there was no control in that. But what can happen if we use that belief in a way that I kind of felt like you did now, is we kind of bypassing something fundamental. We're just saying, oh, but yeah, I'm not in control. And then we kind of pack it into some concept that we don't really, we brush things off. Well, we're not in control anyways. And that can be a trap, as I see it. So the value
It has that potential. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this case, what we're talking about is realizing something happened after it happened.
Yeah. I honestly forgot why you said what you said, but
I was saying that I could have maybe, or I could choose when I get into these situations to just go back to immediate experiencing rather than.
exactly. And so that would be your experience of that, right? Like we can investigate and see that wouldn't be the case, that there was actual control there, but your experience would be that it felt like control, right?
So if the idea turns up to go back and look at to drop into the immediate, to the sensations, that's what will happen. And not because of the idea turning up. It will have already been decided before the idea turns up, but it will happen.
Yeah. I mean, so what I wanted to ask you then was, I know that from in these sessions, it seems you say to people things like, the fact that we've had this discussion about this is another condition now. So, maybe things will happen a bit differently in the future. You're planting a seed, kind of this idea. And even though none of us, in a way, have any choice in any of it, suggesting of whether you make that suggestion of whether I take it on in the future, we still, I get very confused around this. But what I'm thinking is there something about, if saying it in the meeting in this can plant a seed, then can me saying it to myself plant a seed?
Absolutely. That's my story. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, it seems like a good story. Yeah. And under certain circumstances, that's more likely to happen too. If you do that in meditation, or if you do it as you're going to sleep, it has a different strength than if you just do it in passing.
Right.
But it might not as well.
I wonder if for me, I wonder if I've done that a lot basically through my life. And I wonder if, for me, I can get into a loop or a trap if I have that idea.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is seductive, isn't it? You could start to believe that you can shape things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
which you can, but not because you believe it. So I don't know. There's a lot of paradoxes here.
Well, there's nobody shaping anything, so the
Yes.
conditions are shaping itself, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the idea comes, oh, try and hold that in mind the next time you're in that situation. I guess that's just a thing that arises, and maybe I
Yeah.
will hold it in mind next time, and
Yeah.
I don't
And
need to.
maybe you won't. Maybe you'll forget all about it till afterwards.
Yeah.
But then if you realise afterwards that you didn't hold it in mind, do you then beat yourself up over it?
No, there's no point in
Good. Good. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Remind me why you wanted to get back to the moment, so to speak.
I think it was something like I was trying to explain to some people what's so great about what I'm learning through these groups, how it's changing my way of being in the world. And it kind of got a bit stuck in, oh, I couldn't quite convey something, and made me think, oh, do I even understand it myself? And so then I had the thought, well, maybe just drop all this efforting and conceptual stuff and just experience the moment and see what comes from there. Which is kind of what I do anyway. I think I generally do just drop into my
Maybe
intuition
you were
and
in the moment when that happened.
yeah, maybe that's what's happening.
Uh, so how much do you experience wanting things to be different?
I experience little flickers of desire for things to be desires for things to be different, and I don't think they're very often taking hold, or I'm not kind of getting into those threads very much these days.
So again, if they appear, if they come up, that's neither here nor there. It's how you respond to them. That's where the juice is for you. And if you hold it very lightly or just go, okay, and move on, that seems pretty good. But if you get into a whole shebang about achieving something, well, that's another story, isn't it?
I mean, I think that's one of the great gifts from I've taken from these meetings, that I feel hugely more okay with just what is, and whatever unfolds. I'm sure there's certain things where it's a bit stickier, and you know, but not so much currently. But I think it
Sounds
does
good.
go
Sounds
up and
good to
down a
me.
bit.
Like you're in a good place. Yeah.
I have this story, Jed, or this feeling that there is some juice for you in looking at if you're adopting beliefs or if you actually understand the value in them.
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to let go of that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think it's important. Yeah, it's useful. My what I would say, and maybe you can say more, is I think I see the value in them, but I maybe don't quite understand why it's true. I can see the value in having it as a belief, but I can't quite say I fully believe it. I like it as an idea, but it's not my, lived experience or whatever.
Well, one of the fundamental values, as I see it, is that no belief is true.
No belief is true.
If you believe that is a tree, or if you believe that is a whatever, none of that would be true. You can't, any concept is empty. It's only full of the meaning that you assign to the concept. And so if we have 8 billion different versions of meaning put on a concept, even though they might be similar, they're going to be slightly different, then none of them can ultimately be true. So take that and then kind of look at all of your beliefs, all the positions that you take in your life because you believe in something. How you think things should be or shouldn't be, or even the energetic sense that can create a sense of me because that belief is poked at, something you believe in is getting challenged. And so you contract and then you start believing in a self. So why I'm pointing that you can go on and on about this. So I point this out because there is a tendency in these meetings to kind of grasp something intellectually and kind of, yeah, that makes sense. Move on to the next one. You don't take what you just saw and apply it in your own day-to-day looking. You're not looking. And so you end up circling back into the same thing.
Yes. And how does that sit with, if every concept is empty, what would we even be trying to do because surely the idea that there's, I don't know, for example, that there's no control, for example, is a concept, isn't it? Or there is no self is a concept. And so my inclination is to say, well, the thing to do is to just drop everything, drop every idea of what is worthwhile trying to investigate.
Yeah, but can you? Have you? Have you dropped it?
No, I agree. So there's another, is that another concept?
So that's
It's
the
useful
value,
to
right?
drop all concepts.
Yeah, but yeah, so the value is in taking the concept, applying it so that you actually can come to the conclusion to just actually drop it. But you have to do the math first. You can't just take the gold nugget at the end when somebody is telling you a concept and just, oh, well, I understood that, and then I'm going to put it in my collection of insights and not do anything with it.
No, of course. So what we're saying here is that what I could take here is that it makes sense to live as if all concepts were empty, and so therefore notice when I am living with a concept as if it's true, and try dropping it and see what that is.
Well, dropping it is really realizing something fundamental about it. It's a discovery. It's an experience. It's not done in the head. So here's another concept
No.
for you, right? This is the ultimate concept, right? And that is the emptiness principle of Buddhism. The concept of emptiness, and it is a concept, is that nothing has any inherent characteristic, whether that's thoughts or the tree. There's no treeness in a tree. There's no truth in a thought. Nothing has nothing. Even the concept of emptiness is empty. And if you get that one, if you really get that one, understand not in your head, but grok it in your body, there's absolutely nothing you can say or do that means anything. It's just, that's it, the end of everything. There you go. Wake up in one sentence.
And you know, this is so neatly packed into a nice concept again. But the implications of this in life, to understand this, will kind of spread out into everyday happening. And you slowly untangle yourself from the stuff that felt limiting, contracted, like you're a self, right? So if all concepts are empty, that means all stories are empty. That means all meaning is empty, right? So when you feel triggered and you project something in the future
It's
based on
empty.
something, whatever, it's empty. It doesn't mean anything. It's you just created that there and then. There's nothing there.
And if you can get that the I is just a bunch of stories that you've been collecting all your life, and the sense of I comes from reacting to those stories, then again, the whole thing is empty. But even emptiness is a concept. Even emptiness doesn't exist. It's just an idea.
Yeah, no, this is really useful. Thank you. My sense is that when it comes to stories, I think I see that they're all empty and meaningless. There's something about beliefs that, you know, there's just some like extra level or little corner that, or big corner that I've not fully investigated, I think. And yeah, I think that's going to be
Well, here you
fruitful.
go. Here's what I came up with recently about beliefs, right? A belief isn't about whatever you believe. A belief is about the story that's attached to that says it's true. And so I believe it's going to be daylight tomorrow, right? It's not about that. It's because I think that's a true story. Now, how can a story be true? And how can a story that says the other story is true be true? They're just fucking stories. They're empty.
Yeah.
So all beliefs are empty. And yet I got to beliefs from knowledge, from knowing something. So there's no such thing as knowledge or knowing. There's no knowing. There's information, which is just another story. But God, we're getting into trouble here because everything's empty. Including everything I say.
So beliefs will stick around until you actually question those beliefs.
Or question the story that says they're true. Or question the story that says they're true is true.
And I suppose if I can, I mean, I'm liking what you're saying about beliefs all being empty. Makes sense. I guess just noticing where I'm believing something is it seems like a good leverage point.
Well, every time you get triggered is a nice alarm clock for, looking at what am I
Yeah.
believing here.
Yeah, recognizing a delusion that's active.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
But how you recognize it is not to think about the content of the story. Look for the connection to the story in your sensations. That's how you'll recognize it.
Feeling of being triggered.
Mm. Mm. Mika, finished eating?
Vince, you might hear my son screaming out loud soon.
No, I can't hear him at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, he's just playing with his voice. Just figure out he can scream. So, but yeah, things are okay. I think my system have been overwhelmed lately, so I feel quite dissociated, like the self. Um, it's quite empty, but it's not like that emptiness of just what is, but it's more of dissociation, sort of, if that makes sense.
So tell me about this dissociation.
Just feels like I'm sort of disconnected from, I mean, the stories might be there, but I feel disconnected from, I don't know. I don't feel present, but it still feels empty.
I wish you're not present. Where are you?
Okay, so the presence feels weaker in a
Are you
way.
saying that when you say presence, do you mean there is not so many thoughts, or there isn't narration happening? And then when you're not present, your attention is on the narration.
I don't know. It feels like everything is just a fog. The thoughts. The thoughts are there, but I was just sitting observing in the meeting earlier today. I was just like, oh, is Vince actually sitting in a car, or is it a background thing, or is Marius's background a painting, or it's just like this very, I don't know, silly thoughts showing up.
So what should have been happening instead of that wondering?
Following your conversations, I don't know. It felt like it was very difficult to follow. So it sort of got very, I don't know, foggy. Yeah.
Would it be accurate to say you would have felt better about yourself if you put more effort into paying attention to what was happening?
Yes, I think there is a belief there because when I came to the meeting, I had this intention to join the meeting and to follow and just hearing what people talked about. So there's maybe, yeah, this kind of disappointment that I couldn't.
But that disappointment didn't produce the fog that you were talking about, did it? That was something else?
Yes, I think the fog is more because my system have been quite overloaded lately. There's been a lot of pain, a lot of fear, a lot of sensations and desperation, I think, hopelessness.
Would it be accurate to say that all of that has produced some kind of exhaustion that maybe is more the reason for that sensation of fogginess?
Yeah. It sort of feels like the body's not collapsing, but it's very tired.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, there's no rest for new mothers, is there?
No, I mean, being a mother is so nice. I think it's the best thing that ever happened, but it's more what
But
comes with.
still exhausting.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I think there's more. It's not like it comes with a resistance to the sensation that comes with being a mother, but the resistance comes with that, as we talked about, what happened, like, yeah, with the other part of becoming a mom.
Mm.
That's where the resistance lies.
Yeah. And they all of that stuff produces lots of stories about terrible outcomes and so on, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very active.
Mm. So when we were talking about the feeling of this being personal, that's where identification is. Did you hear that part of the conversation earlier in the night?
No? Or what do you mean? Sorry.
Well, all these stories that happen about, how things could go, or how they should go, and all the rest of it that goes on with all of this other stuff in particular.
Mm.
They're only stories until you react to them. And when you react to them, it's specifically the sensations that it's personal, the feeling of it being personal, not the belief about it. I mean, that may be involved, but the actual physical nature of the personal aspect of them, that's where identification, that's where the self gets born, and that's where all the suffering is.
Mm.
And when you're lost in the story, you're not even close to experiencing the sensations, let alone the subtler, much more subtle sensations that are, how personal is this? We don't even think of it as personal. We just experience it as personal. At the moment we go looking for the personal nature of it, you discover your connection to identification, to giving birth to a self, and where all the suffering starts.
Mm.
Miko, I have this story that you have this hope that what we're doing here will kind of relieve you of the pain that you're going through. Is that accurate?
There's a hope to see through the thoughts, or not see through the thoughts, but sort of like get help to leave the stories, not paying so much attention to it.
You know, this is totally not usually how I do things. But if the system is really on overdrive, um, I don't think it I don't think it helps to kind of try to force an awakening or a kind of making something happen again. I know that you've had clarity, but now it's so intense that that what you did experience, it feels like more like a running away from what you're experiencing, and that will never kind of help, I think. So um if we just put that aside for a second, if we put aside this there is no self, this whole awakening thing, just aside for a moment. And if you want to turn off the recording for what I'm going to ask next, I'm sure Vince will be happy to do that. But how about just expressing the story, expressing how tired you are, expressing how overwhelming this feels, allowing yourself to talk about the story. Maybe you can turn off the recording, Vince.